Yeah. Hello and welcome to Santos on Sports. We are sponsored happily by the following sponsors: Scotty's Pub, located at 202 Pleasant Street in Fall River, citywide glass with not one, not two, but three locations to serve you in Dartmouth, Fall River, and Taunton. We have Lakeville Athletic Club, 325 Bedford Street in Lakeville, and John Seed, attorney at law, 156 8th Street in New Bedford. And you can go check his website out at johnseedlaw.com. As you can see, Chris Santos is not there today, a little bit under the weather. He's got that stomach flu. We wish him well. I'm sure he's on the mend right now. So filling in today is our top caller, Mr. Ryan Farias. Ryan, good to have you with us today.
Thanks for having me on, Paul. It's an honor.
Well, we have a lot to talk about today. So let me see if we can open with the question that we had there. And the question that we had there initially was, did the NFL act fast enough to cancel that game the other night when Damar Hamlin got injured, horrifically injured, where they actually had to revive him on the field, his heartbeat stopping and everything else? Just a horrific moment to see them working on him and so forth. No question about that. And once he was revived, the ambulance came, took him to the hospital. And it looked like at that point, the NFL was saying, okay, let's give you 5 minutes and, let's play here. And then a little bit of time went by. I can remember I was looking at my text with texting Ryan, texting my sons. And by 9:30, we were already thinking, hey, maybe they ought to cancel the game. So the answer to the question that I have, and we're looking for your phone calls here at 774-763-6366. Wait a minute, put the number up. 774-762-6234. There you go. So give us a call. Let me know what you think. But, did they cancel the game quick enough? I think they could have canceled it a little bit sooner than that. But I am willing to give the NFL a little bit of a pass because it's not that easy to cancel a game. All kinds of complexities come up and everything else. Most of the time, there's been difficult injuries before, and you have to kind of proceed along. Maybe not a life-threatening injury where someone almost looked like they passed away on the field. But I do think they could have acted a little bit faster. On the other hand, I think it was a difficult situation. I'm just curious, what does Ryan think?
It's definitely a difficult situation. This is something that hasn't happened before. But I've also agreed that it could have been canceled a bit sooner than it was because after a certain point, you looked at just the guys on the field, like their minds were just completely out of it. You just saw just looks of sheer terror, really. Like there was no way that they were going to refocus enough to get back on the game. And you think about it, just like me being an uncle of three, about to be four. I don't fully understand it because I'm not the guy's mom, but I feel like I can empathize a little bit more on it. Like just think about, put yourself in the shoes of the parents, and the other players on the team. I couldn't begin to imagine what they were feeling at that point in time. It's certainly the most traumatic experience that I've seen in watching sports.
Yeah, no question about it. And, I do think that the first thing you think of is, well, wait a minute, maybe they're thinking about dollar signs here. There's going to be money lost and everything else. And, it's like, hey, you go back on the field and you'll finish the game. But you could tell, you're looking at, Josh Allen on the sideline there with Joe Burrow there, the quarterback, and all the other players that are on the sideline, Stephon Diggs. I mean, you could tell that there's just no way they were going to be able to resume the game. So I think by 9:30, they didn't do it till 10 o'clock. So that last half hour, it felt like it went on forever before they finally made the decision.
Yeah, and I feel bad for the guys on ESPN too, as well. I thought that they did a great job covering it as well as they did, because again, this was a chaotic situation. It was kind of just like, this is not something that you expect to happen. So that's another reason why right there, that at some point in time you just had to call it off because nobody was prepared for that situation. And thoughts and prayers to Damar Hamlin. I'm just fingers crossed that he comes back to us.
At this particular time, we understand that he's still in critical condition. He's in the intensive care unit at the hospital, but there seems to be some signs that he's improving. Originally, the ventilator was doing all of the breathing. We understand that it's up to 50% now. So our hope is that, he turns the corner and everything else. And like you said, thoughts and prayers are with him and the family, as everyone should feel that way. I don't think there is one person at all that doesn't feel that way. But still, they have to look at, okay, what do they do now, right? You have this game, which was really possibly going to decide the top seed, between Cincinnati and Kansas City. So now what happens now? What do you do? Do you resume the game at some point? What about the Patriots-Bills game? There's even been some talk that maybe the Patriots-Bills game won't happen this week. And, there was even some talk, I think I heard a couple of days ago, not so much today, but that maybe the Bills might forfeit the game, right? So talk about the Patriots backing into a playoff spot by the Bills not showing up at the game. I mean, that's going to be the most ridiculous thing. And then the thing is, right, if there is a forfeit, it's not that the Patriots get in, it's that somebody else doesn't get in. So I don't see how you can possibly do that. I mean, I think the Patriots-Bills game has to be played at some point, even if they push it back a week or whatever. As far as the Cincinnati-Kansas City, that might be a different discussion. But as far as the Patriots and Bills game, I mean, that game has to be played because it not only affects the Patriots, it affects other teams as well.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if they push the thing back because let's be real. Until I feel like until such a time that we get definitive news of is the guy even going to be conscious? The minds of the Bills players, it's going to be on the guy. So even if you go ahead and resume this on Sunday, their minds aren't going to be on that, and I think it'd be horrible to play that with everyone in that mindset.
Absolutely, 100%. And, those are the decisions that the NFL has to make. So what do you think out there? Give us a call at 774-762-6234. Ryan Farry is filling in for Chris Santos today on Santos on Sports. I'm Paul Santos as usual. Always interested to hear what you have to say. I got to tell you, the NFL is under some criticism, I think, because, the thought process was, wait a minute. These guys are thinking about dollar signs. They really don't want to cancel a game, right? And all that. But, I got to tell you, Ryan, I think it's more than dollar signs. I'm thinking, okay, next week, they hadn't even scheduled the games next week. They were kind of going to decide the times of the games depending on what happened in this game. So now this coming week has to be assembled. Then you have, potential wild card weekend, potentially, obviously, the championship games and the Super Bowl. And although none of that is more important than the health of this young player, of course not. Nobody's saying that. But now you're talking about, how about the businesses that operate around the Super Bowl and maybe their businesses survive because they're around the Super Bowl and all of the hotels and the logistics and who's going to be where and you're going to get the plane and all this stuff. I mean, all that stuff still has to be dealt with. So even though we're focusing mainly on the health and safety and well wishes of the player, all of those logistical things still have to be dealt with by somebody at some time.
It's certainly going to be a test for the league, to say the least, because the league has adapted before. Look at what happened during during COVID when it was at its peak. You had rescheduling of games all the time. Like I remember back in 2020, first time in NFL history that we had a game played on every day of the entire week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the entire week through. But this feels like something else altogether. We're talking about the livelihood of a player and how that affects the mental state of players on the team. And I can't emphasize it enough. These guys were shaken. So I'm not sure how they're going to be at a point where they can really focus on the game anytime soon. And I don't blame them at all. I'd be the exact same way.
Well, let's get a quick shout out here to Mikey Kahn. Mike Insatio watches every single week, generally comments in the comment line. So, Mike, type something in. Let us know what you think. And one of these days, give us a call at 774-762-6234. We love the comments. Don't get us wrong, but we'd like to hear the sound of your voice, too. And you are a very knowledgeable individual. So, give us a call if you would as we talk about this it was really like a surreal situation. I think Joe Buck did a great job in the booth, and they threw it back to the studio a couple of times. I think back at the studio they so didn't know what to say, but they kept saying the same thing over and over again, just like I wish we had words. We don't know what to say. This is a terrible thing. Blah blah blah. Then they threw it back to Joe Buck. I thought Joe Buck did a is a play-by-play guy. I mean, I think he did a phenomenal job. in the way he handled the whole situation.
Everyone in that situation was outstanding, and you could hear it in their voices too. Like they were almost on the brink of tears, and it's like I'm looking at this saying, it's, kudos to these guys for even being able to operate under these circumstances to begin with. And I thought, Susie Colbert, Adam Schefter, Booger McFarland, that they all did a great job, just kind of keeping the focus on what was important here. Like the guy nearly died on the field, and all the attention should be on just getting this guy healthy. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
All right, let's see. Mike Insatio typing in as we requested. You know what he says? First of all, he says, "Good afternoon, Paul." Well, good afternoon to you too. By the way, thank you for coming by the comedy variety show last night. Mikey Kahn was out there rooting us on there, doing our whole Tonight Show gig. But he says, "Good afternoon, Paul. You know what?" And this is probably true, Ryan. This is probably true. No matter what the NFL decides, they are going to be criticized negatively no matter what they do, because people are just negative. If you do this, you do that. No matter what they do, they're going to be criticized. What do you think about that?
I think that there's some validity to that. There are people who just don't like the league overall. And there's certainly other less major things that have happened that they've gotten massive criticism for. But if you want to be critical of the league in this particular instance because of the kind of delayed cancellation of the game, I can totally understand that. I'm with of that mentality as well.
All right. Shout out here to Missy Farias. Thank you for looking in today. Shout out to George DeMello. All right. We have Mark Roy. Mark Roy puts a comment in here. Should not have been canceled. He got the medical attention he needed. The rest of the players were not injured. They all get paid big money to play that game. Players get hurt all the time. That's what you're there for. Finish the game and then go see and cry for your pal then. Oh, my goodness. What a harsh comment that is. I mean, I was almost going to give this guy a little bit of slack until that last sentence.
Yeah.
As far as there are some people who think, hey, the game should go on, it must go on. There are a lot of other factors to deal with there. I don't agree with them. But I don't know. There are some people that do look at that and say, hey, you can deal with that after finish the game, then go to the hospital, whatever. I mean, there are people that take that position.
Oh, there definitely are, but I vehemently disagree with that. Just what I mentioned before. Sure, you could have continued the game, but it's not. It wasn't just the Bills. Both teams were in complete shambles. Their heads were just completely out of it. So at that point, these people probably would have then been complaining about the quality because their heads were totally not in it. So I'm good with the fact that they canceled this.
Yeah, and I think that was quite harsh what this gentleman had to say. I mean, I don't, that was, let me see, that was Mark Rohr. I'm sorry, we're going to disagree with you, Mark, on that one. Okay. George DeMello says he only knows basketball. I don't know if he's talking about that last guy or somebody else. Missy Farias says, I think Troy and Joe did a great job. The studio was good also. What could they say? They certainly wish the game was called sooner. I agree. I don't usually love McFarland, but I have a whole new respect for him now.
Yeah, I'm with that too. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not going to disagree with that.
I knew found respect for all of these people. Like, I always had like I was always like Shefty because of this. He was one of the guys who, like Ian Rappaport, who broke the big news. But just kind of on a more personal occasion like this, for them to have stepped up to the plate the way that they did, considering the chaotic circumstance, I can't commend these guys enough.
All right, we got a comment here from Renee Carr. They had a lot on their minds at the time and in shock, waiting on the results of his condition, cause, etc. So a lot going on there in order for them to make these very impactful decisions.
Absolutely.
All right, so give us a shout. What do you think? 774-762-6234. Keep those comments coming. Happy to see Mikey Kahn out there and some of these other commenters typing in the comment line. We always like to see that. So keep those coming here at Santos on Sports. If you're wondering why Chris isn't there and you're just tuning in, well, Chris is a little under the weather. Yes, there is some kind of a bug going around, and caught up with Chris Santos, so he let us know earlier on in the day. So we brought Ryan Farias on. who has his own podcast, is going to be resuming pretty soon. Is that Ryan, Fast and Furious?
Yeah, it's the Farious on Football podcast. I am hoping
Okay.
to get that up fairly soon.
All right, very, very good, very good. And so we brought Ryan on. Ryan is our usual caller for the folks that listen in general. So we thought we'd bring him on and save him a telephone call. So he's filling in very, very nicely so far here on Santos on Sports. So now, again, anybody that wants to comment on that subject, please do, because we want to hear from you on that subject about how the NFL has handled it. What are they going to do about these games? Are they going to play the Chiefs game and the Bengals game at some point? That's another issue. Actually, we didn't touch on that too much. Playing that particular game, I mean, you got the Patriots game against the Buffalo Bills, but what about the Bills and the Chiefs? And what about this idea? I heard someone say that, the Bills played the Chiefs once already this year, and the Bills beat the Chiefs. So if it comes to, coming up with a tiebreaker under the circumstances, maybe the Bills ought to get home field. What do you think about that?
To be honest, I really don't know how the logistics are going to go on that. Like, I think that just depends on, like, are they going to kind of push things back and play the Bills Bengals game on a later date, really? Because if they forfeit it or give it a tie, I'm not sure how that would go.
Yeah, exactly. And, I think that, to be honest, I don't know if you can just say, well, the last game determines it, but this game right here, is not going to be played. I mean, I think something that the league is going to have to figure out. One thing I would say is that, remember a few years ago, I mean, it's been a while now since it wasn't like this, but that 2 weeks between the Super Bowl, it always used to be, you played the AFC and NFC championship, and then it was 1 week later was the Super Bowl. That was it. Now you got that 2 week buffer. So you have a little bit of room to maneuver there. I think you could probably push some games back if you really had to under the circumstances. So those are the things that you have to try to figure out. But as far as, the game being resumed on this same exact field where this happened, and you just put the ball wherever the ball was and say, okay, let's pick it up from there. I mean, that's going to be kind of awkward to try to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and I'm just trying to think of like how would that go in terms of, like, warm ups, obviously, and but how would the strategy change too?
Right. I got another comment here. John Fuller is making a comment here. He says, never going to give the NFL the benefit of the doubt. All right. Money is always first. Player safety is way down on the list of priorities. So he's thinking more like, hey, it's the money. It's the main thing. You really can't give the NFL a pass.
And that could be true in some cases. The league has been shady at times, so I could definitely see that.
And George DeMello typed in OMG, probably referring to the very negative comment that we had a little bit earlier. So I agree. That was not a very good one at all. So keep those comments coming. We appreciate it. And of course, if you want to give us a shout, George DeMello, you want to give us a call, or John Fuller, you want to talk to us, Renee Carr, any of the people on here, just give us a call at 774-762-6234. Even Mark Roy, we'd like to have you give us a call. Bob Conklin, who is an official locally here in high school football, is looking in today. So thank you very much. Give us a comment. Let us know what you think. And we do want to also mention, and you can call in or talk about this particular subject, but that last Patriots game, I got to tell you, we're going into the last game of the season. The Patriots had to win the last two, unless these other three things happen. We won't even get into that. But, they got by this last game against Miami. But again, like I tell Chris all the time, I wasn't happy about the way this game went at all. I mean, they had that first drive at the beginning. They had an okay drive at the end in terms of the offense. And for the 80% or 90% of the time in between, they were god-awful. The offense was god-awful. And by the way, our great quarterback there, Mac Jones, I mean, I thought he was terrible. Some people are saying, well, he was fair. He was okay. I mean, there was one play, he overthrew a receiver by like 10 yards. There was one he threw behind another receiver. He threw another time, was practically in the dirt. I mean, some of these passes were all over the place. I understand that people have to run routes and stuff like that, but I mean, if somebody's open and you have a chance to hit somebody on a third down, you got to hit them. You know what I mean? And if you can't do it, then I don't think you're that good.
Yeah, but one in particular, I can't remember exactly where it was, but I could have sworn it was inside our own 20. And I want to say it was Jacoby Myers. He just threw it at his feet. And I was kind of having some flashbacks. It was like the Cam Newton year all over again, just completely missing guys. I think that the fact that we did get into the end zone a couple of times, there was some improvement there, I'm not going to bank on that, especially if we end up playing Buffalo at some point at full strength. Um, it's some improvement, but it's not. I'm not saying, oh, we should bring Matt Patricia back as our offensive coordinator next year. No, I'm not saying that at all. Although I do say I did like that little Tyquan Thornton play over. It wasn't in the corner, but it was on near the sideline. I did like that, getting him involved.
Yeah, no, you have to give him credit where credit is deserved. I mean, but even like that last touchdown pass, that was what to Jacoby Myers, right? He just
Yeah,
kind of, I mean, he read the 1-on-1. He just kind of threw it up there. Jacoby Myers went up and grabbed it, but I mean,
great play on his
it
part.
was it was like a what was that about a 5 yard? Well, all right, maybe a 10 yard pass. I mean, it wasn't anything that like you're throwing the ball 20, 30 yards downfield. I mean that like almost never happens that the ball gets thrown 20 or 30 yards downfield.
No, certainly not with this offense. And I think this is just another example of really, like you had mentioned, in order to score points, our defense has to score once. And Kyle Duggar with a pick six, perfect example right there. So really, it's the defense continues to be the highlight, while the offense just completely continues to really crap itself. And I will say too, Teddy Bridgewater did play decently, so there was a chance that they win this game if he had stayed in there. But I knew the game was over once they had to put in Skylar Thompson. Just he's way too raw.
Yeah, I imagine that the Patriots are playing against, second and third string quarterbacks. And it's always funny because you hear on many of the Boston talk shows, they'll list all the quarterbacks that, the Patriots beat and then list all the quarterbacks that, they lost to. It's basically like they're beating teams that suck worse than they do. And they're losing the
Essentially,
teams that are decent teams. That's basically it if you go right down the schedule.
pretty much, yeah. And who knows what would have happened if Kyler Murray had stayed in that Arizona game? There's no guarantee that he would have beat us because the Cardinals kind of suck worse than we do either way. But again, there's no way to know.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I know. I know that's absolutely 100% true. I mean, uh God, I mean, and I still have to ask this question. I'm sorry to do this because I bring this up every single week, right? Matt Patricia, right? Okay, he's a bad play caller. We've been hearing this. This guy was a defensive guy. He doesn't know what he's doing.
Right.
Joe Judge, he doesn't know what he's doing and all that. But how come when Zappy was in there, they were moving the ball? How come? I don't understand that. In fact, Tom Curran even said, "Hey, is Matt Patricia vindicated?" Remember that there was a week there where that question was actually asked, right? So now all of a sudden you put the other guy in there and it's not happening. I don't understand it.
To be honest, I'm still surprised that after that, the Chicago game, that they ended up going back to Mac Jones in the first place. Because sure, the offense completely went downhill in the second half of that game, and Bailey Zappi threw a couple of picks, but he had given them a spark. I want to say they were like at least within a few points, like right before the half. So to be honest, as much as I want to give Mac Jones the benefit of the doubt because of how, again, he wasn't special last year, but with an actual offensive coordinator in Josh McDaniels, he did decently. At this point, the way the season's gone, I'd be open to putting Zappy in there. At the very, I think that he at least solidified himself as the long term backup over Brian Hoyer. But if he could be a starter down the road, why not put him in there? See what happens.
I'm sorry to say this, but I have to, right? The Lions game. New England 29, Detroit 0.
Nothing.
Okay.
Look at all
Zappy
the
played
points
the
they're
game.
scoring now.
The Cleveland Browns 38-15, right? Oh my God, who's calling the offense? Those games. Oh my God, it's the same guy. It's Matt Patricia. All right,
Different
let's go
quarterback.
to the phones. Let's go to the phones. Hello, you're on Santos on Sports.
Yeah, this is John. I texted in before about the never giving the NFL the benefit of the doubt.
Yes.
So yeah, I know Ryan. Hey Ryan, how's it going?
Oh, good. Thank you for calling.
Hey, no problem. So when I say that is look how long the NFL took to even address CTE, right? It took forever. It took them being sued, and finally they did something about it. But like the hand was forced. In a case like this, I mean, I'm not sure your age. I don't know if I'm older than you, but I remember someone from the Jets getting paralyzed right on the field, right? And they just carried him off the field, and then they just continued playing the game because even though the Jets were in the whole both teams were shaken, it didn't matter, right? They just said, okay, move them off and play the game. And I'm sure that's the way the NFL was thinking. And they're thinking we have to continue this game. And it wasn't the Jets playing the Browns last week, right? With the two first place teams playing each other, they were saying there's no way we can cancel this game. And I'm sure the Bills probably forced their hand to say we're not playing. And I know they're not saying that, but it seems like that's probably what happened. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I'd actually seen. I forgot who it was that reported this, but I had seen some stuff floated around out there that it actually came down to Sean McDermott and Zach Taylor coming together and saying, yeah, we can't continue this. And then it came down to they were talking to the officials. Then you had the league office calling down while everyone was in the locker rooms, and then you saw there was no official announcement, but you saw the guys packing up the equipment and just leaving the stadium. Then we finally got the official announcement.
And I realize not to be crass or anything, but I mean there are the people behind the scenes that have to think it through. They said that the person got hurt. Now they have to look at the business side. What do we do now? Right? We have sponsors. There's millions of dollars at stake here. What are we going to do right now? And they were going to lose either way, right? I mean, they weren't going to make the right decision in everyone's eyes, right? And I don't know if you guys talked about this, but my opinion is what they should do going forward is just end that game right there. 7-3, Cincinnati wins, it's done. Because you can't reschedule that game. Where are you going to fit it in? It's the end of the season. There's no time. And no one's, Cincinnati will be happy. Bills won't be happy, but it is what it is. I mean, someone has to make that decision.
Right, exactly. And it is not going to be an easy decision because there's a number of ways they could do it. They could do it the way that you just described it, or maybe some other way. But let me get back to that point you made before about, the Jets player getting paralyzed, getting carried off the field, and then they resume play, right? Some might argue that, well, okay, there's a precedent for these kind of horrific events, and therefore that makes it a stronger argument that they should have continued the other night. Now, the other side of that is there is a difference between being paralyzed and, the person is going to die right there in the field, as horrific as a paralysis would be. So maybe that is a difference. But, the fact that they continued the game, in the Jets example that you gave, would an argument be made that, hey, that's why they should have continued in this circumstance as well?
Yeah, and people could make the argument, but and that's probably what. And again, I don't know. I'm not in those meetings, right? I can't imagine the NFL saying, "Oh, let's just stop the game." Knowing that what we've all heard, how the NFL works, there's no way that was their first option. And I'm sure the Bills were like, "Nope, not going to happen. My players aren't playing in this game. And what are you going to do?"
Well, the NFL is now denying that they ever said that they were going to give them 5 minutes to get ready. There's no way that can be true because there's no way Joe Buck would have said that.
Yeah.
Right. Someone told Joe Buck and he just relayed it, right? So who knows? Someone said it, and maybe they just said it because that's the way they always do it. And maybe it was just, hey, like you said, out of precedent, okay, they're off the field, they get 5 minutes. Right, and that's probably maybe not the NFL, maybe it was the officials. Who knows? But somebody said it, right? I mean, it's clear that somebody had to say it. Joe Buck wasn't lying.
Yeah.
So, as far as we know,
what do you think about the Patriots playing the Bills now? I mean, do you think that game might go forward? If it does go forward, would that be like something where it's going to be a sympathetic pulling together of the Bills players? Are they going to play better than they did before? Are they going to be? Yeah. Are they going to play worse than before because they can't pull it together?
I think the Patriots have a problem. Aside from this happening, they'll do the let's do it for. I can't say it. Is it? How do you say his first name?
Yeah, it's
DeMar.
Right. Let's play for DeMar, and that never suits well for the other team, right? So, I think the Patriots are in trouble no matter what.
What do you think about that, Ryan? I was thinking that too. I was thinking, gee, maybe the Patriots are going to get pasted anyway. But now, with this rallying around the injured player thing, oh my God, that can make it even rougher on the Pats.
Yeah, I mean, just to add on to the fact that the Bills have owned the Patriots for really since 2020, that when they, they kind of rose up and really passed everyone else in the division. They got this rallying cry now, and Yes, absolutely. The motivation is going to be through the roof, and the Patriots are in trouble. And to be honest, if they do smoke the Patriots, I wouldn't be unhappy at all. I wouldn't be happy if they won it all for this guy. I would love for that to happen.
Yeah, I say even if the Patriots somehow win that game, they're going to get smoked, and they're going to play Kansas City, right? If it goes forward like this, and there's no way they're going to even come close to Kansas City. So what's the point? Get a better draft pick. That's what I say.
Well, it doesn't really change like what changes they need to make for next year. No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
You know. All right. Hey, we really appreciate you commenting and calling in. Thank you very much.
All right. All right.
All right. Have a great day. 774-762-6234. If you'd like to give us a call here on Santos on Sports, Ryan Farry is filling in for Chris Santos, along with yours truly, Paul Santos. And if you want to keep those comments coming, that would also be great as well. How do you think the NFL handled the situation with the injured player Damar Hamlin the other day? And what do you think is going to happen going forward now? We still have the Chiefs game, right, against the Bills that never get finished. The Chiefs are going to be playing the Raiders supposedly on Saturday, right? If the Chiefs win that game, they'll have a higher winning percentage than the Bills.
Right.
We don't know what's going to happen with the Bills game with the Patriots. I mean, that game's got to get played because it's going to affect the Patriots and some other team, whether it's Miami or the Jets or whoever that other team is going to sneak in there, who I don't even know who that is. But and by the way, you were saying that you didn't care if the Patriots got smoked, but you're wearing that jersey there.
Hey, listen, it was a good outfit, I thought. Trying to make a good impression for my first time on air.
Yes, that's right. No, it is. Yeah, I like the fans that are not fair weather fans. You know, I'm not a fair weather fan. In fact, I'm a stronger fan when the team's not that good. Like in sort of like this weird way, like prior to this whole injury thing. I'm just talking about the Patriots. I find these games more compelling. You know, these last couple of years with Cam Newton and what's Cam Newton? How's he going to do off the scrap heap? How's Bill Belichick going to do without Tom Brady? You know, okay, the COVID year goes by. Okay, now you get Mac Jones. What's going on with Mac Jones? Can you win with a rookie quarterback? You know, and every single down of every single game is important. You know, I mean, when Brady was there, you could go to sleep for about 10 of the games. I hate to say it. I used to take off and come back and, you know, let me know when, it's the first round bye and the tomato can opponent in the first round. You know, it almost got boring.
Yeah, but nowadays, you know, as a Patriots fan, obviously with the way the team's kind of gone downhill, December football has become more important than ever. And you know, just as an overall football fan, you know, I love December football because, like, you know, I'm not trying to say that, you know, the first few months are boring or what have you. I still love it, but December football is a lot more compelling because there's a lot more stuff on the line, playoff berths, seeding, who gets that first round bye, and so forth. And I feel like a lot of teams play harder because they figured things out too. So I completely agree. December football, especially here, is more compelling than ever.
Yeah, and they added that extra wild card. So, like, I think there was only like, as of last week, there were only like 7 or 8 teams in the entire league that were eliminated. Everybody else like still had a shot. You know, I mean, that's what's better than that.
Yeah, it's fun to see all the guys just scratching and clawing to get that last spot. Even if they do end up getting smoked by the 2 seed, it's fun to see them get in.
I remember Chris Santos, who roots for the Cowboys, and I know you root for the Cowboys too. I was complaining about, I'm watching these games and, we're scratching and clawing for a playoff spot and everything else. And he's like, hey, welcome to the club. This is the way everybody else lives, like you haven't lived like this in 20 years, You always knew you're going to get in. And I mean, the Patriots had a bad year. It was like, you won 10 games and got knocked out in the second round. Most teams are like that. They're scratching for a playoff spot, just trying to have a shot at the big game down the road,
Yeah, which is why when I look at the dynasty, like, I just made it a point to not take the stuff for granted, each of those championships, because, you had to think that sooner or later, whether it was, whether you predicted the Brady Belichick divorce coming or the team just goes downhill just in general, you just got to appreciate what you had in the past. Now, obviously, you can be critical of them now and still want them to win championships, but I just wanted to make it a point to hey, this stuff, don't take it for granted. It was a great era to live through, albeit only the latter half of it.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. Yeah, we got very, very comfortable with most of the Boston teams actually at least having a chance to be in there. So what do you think about the NFL? Did the NFL screw this up? Did they look at dollar signs? Did they really give a damn about this injured player? That's what we want you to tell us here at 774-762-6234. Let me see if there are any more off the chart harsh comments over here. No, don't give us any comments that are too harsh here. Let's be reasonable here. Somebody said, yeah, just pick up and play, no big deal kind of thing. No, don't say that. Let me see. Got a comment here from Shars Robillard Riley. At the end of the day, does it matter? I think they're talking about, what happens now going forward. When you really think about it, after what happened on the field, how they handle going forward, does it really matter? I guess the answer is not really, in the sense when you're talking about a matter of life and death, but somebody's still got to make the decision. Somebody's still got to deal with it.
Right. Yeah. But, because like a lot of people would say, at the end of the day, the NFL is a business, and they still have that, that mindset of like, how do we move forward? But us the fans, more than anything else, that's not really what we're focusing on. We just want this man to recover and hopefully live somewhat a normal life.
Well, we got a comment here from Bob Conklin. Thank you for looking in, Bob. Bob is an outstanding official in high school games locally. We've done play-by-play on many of the games that he's worked down on the field. We even did a story about him and one of the female officials that we have down here locally, and so that was very enjoyable. Even coached with Bob many years ago. He says that the hits that we're seeing in football today, high school, college, and the NFL, are absolutely crazy. Targeting today was a great hit not too long ago. What do you think about that?
It is surprising to me that the fact that we've seen college football pros, that they're trying to eliminate like the dangerous big hits as much as humanly possible, but it seems that they become maybe a lot more noticeable. Maybe that's just the era that we live in, right? Hits like that back in the day, like oh, that was just a normal thing, but we see them nowadays, and we're just like conditioned to be like, oh God, that's not good at all.
Yeah, Bob Conklin also says, spend some money, Kraft, and get some wide receivers. Well, they spent a lot of money a couple of years ago, and they blew the money all in the wrong spot. And then Bob also says, sorry, not a Pats fan, but they aren't going to win that game against Buffalo, no matter what I think or what anybody else thinks. So I agree with you there, Bob. Thank you for making those comments. Hey, if you want to grab the phone, 774-762-6234. Either way, keep that coming. But yeah, that's spending some money and get some receivers. Hey, he gave Bill Belichick a blank checkbook a couple of years ago, and I'm not sure they spent that money the right way.
Not at all. I mean, look at the guys that they got. Nelson Aguilar being at the top of that list. He's been awful this year. And really, the one receiver that they spent on that really had much impact at all was Kendrick Bourne. And he barely gets any snaps. Doesn't get half as many snaps as he should get. And the one tight end out of the two, the one that we gave less money to, is way outperforming Jonnu Smith.
Well, we haven't heard from my good friend Chops Turner, the resident 49ers fan yet, but I'm watching the 49ers the other day playing against the Raiders, and I'm looking out there and I'm saying, wait a minute. A quarterback looks familiar. What's going on? So George DeMello is commenting here about Jarrett Stidham. He says, what do you guys think about Jarrett Stidham? I think it was a little too early. You saw what he did to the number one defense the other day. They really came close. Yeah, San Francisco has got one of the top defenses in the league, and he looked really good. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, here's another situation where, a couple of years back with Cam Newton, the fans were like, hey, look, Cam Newton sucks. He's going to suck. How much worse can you do? Just throw Stidham in there, and he wouldn't freaking do it. And now I'm thinking this thing similar about Zappe, maybe not quite that pronounced, because I think there was Cam Newton was probably the worst quarterback I ever saw, playing for the Patriots. I hate to say that.
He's up there.
The condition that he was in. But similar with Zappe, like, why wouldn't you just give Stidham a chance? That season was going nowhere anyway. And then by the same token, I still think that, look, you put the backup quarterback in, whoever it is. How about San Francisco with Purdy? He's like he was the last pick in the entire draft, right? But you don't know until they're in there, right? So to me, if you put in the backup quarterback, whether it's Zappe or Joe Banana down the street, and he wins, and then the next game he wins, the next game he wins, you just keep playing him as long as we're winning. I don't see why you rush back and bring the other guy in. So what do you think about Jarrett Stidham?
He stunned me this past Sunday, and I will say this: I think the key difference between that situation and the Zappe situation, I think back in 2020, I certainly would have given him a shot because he was in his second year in the system when they refused to play him at all. But whereas I'd be a little bit more iffy on playing exactly the rest of the way here, just a little bit of it more. Even though I just said that I'd be open to it. If there's more on the line, I'd be iffy to play him because he's a raw rookie, even though he's played pretty well. But that was a stunning performance on Sunday. What was it, like 365 yards and 3 touchdowns? They could have easily won that game if he hadn't decided just to huck it up there in overtime. They could have easily gotten this.
Well, I know a guy who's an expert on the San Francisco 49ers right here. Chops is on the line. Chops, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on, Mr. Santos? Paul Santos.
Hey, you know what? We're talking here about Jarrett Stidham. He's a guy that was on the Patriots. Bill Belichick wouldn't put him in when Cam Newton was sucking it really bad over there. And I'm watching the television the other day, and I'm looking at the red zone, and they flip it over to the 49ers. And I see Stidham against the number 1 defense in the league, and he's putting up 300 yards. What was going on? I mean, they didn't win the game, but almost.
That's right.
What happened?
Huh?
What happened? How come he was doing so well against that San Francisco defense, do you think?
I think a lot of those, sometimes the defensive backs get too comfortable, man, and then they get out of. A lot of times they lose them. You got to remain confident, man, and you think because the team is not a tough team, you can always relax. You can't relax at any time.
Yeah, right, exactly. That probably could be it, but it was just kind of funny seeing Stidham in there, and I'm like, oh my God, here's a guy that Belichick. I mean, he should have at least given him a chance when Cam Newton was so bad a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, like you said, man. Those cornerbacks are. Sometimes the team gets, and plus the 49ers played 2 games back to back, and plus, those younger guys today. It's not like the old guys back in the day, man. They played ball hawking defense. These guys are a little lax back there. You can't get lax back there.
I was wondering what your thoughts were on the injury to DeMar Hamlin. I mean, did you think that, the league was a little slow in calling that game off? Did you have any thought on that?
Yeah, it was tough, man, because it's my first time ever seeing something like that. You see guys get hurt, like a lot of the pros said, but that was kind of tough. But I think, like I said, Paul, man, the fundamentals are gone, man. When I saw the guy getting hit, I saw the free safety. Like I play free safety. I'm coming like a missile. I'm like a missile, and there's a way to hit. The guy that hit him, he was up in his body, but he should have been, in my opinion, he should have been lower. You know what I'm saying? As free safety comes up and make that smashing hit. I thought that the impact, he was up too high and it struck him in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Well, let me get Ryan's thoughts on that because, I think there's been such an emphasis, Ryan, on protecting the head that probably the upper body here, where the chest is and all that, maybe there hasn't been enough emphasis on that.
Yes.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if after this season we see kind of an update to the pads to put like a little bit more protection on that chest area because this wasn't. I feel like this is something that wasn't addressed because it's never happened before. Like there was no manual for this type of situation. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if they put more of I think they had like a flak jacket kind of thing for like the lower abdomen area already, but if they put an extra chest protector on, I wouldn't be surprised at all, and I kind of hope they do. Got to do something.
Yeah, I agree. He's right. Right, it's true. Well, I think too, like I said before, to emphasize on the fundamentals, man, how to hit a person or how to, like Ronnie Lott, one of the great hardest hitting free safeties in the NFL. When he hits you, man, you see he played 4 years, won 4 Super Bowls, never got hurt. It's because of the way there's a way you contact a guy, the way you hit a guy, and you have to stick to those fundamentals because that keeps you from getting hurt. And then the speed of the games kind of slowed down a little bit too, Paul. When you don't play as hard and all these rules now, kind of makes it a little hard for these defensive back. The offensive guy, can hit you, but the defensive guy can't hit the offensive guy.
Well, yeah, you know, I always thought to myself, and this is the case in basketball too. You know,
Yeah.
the thing is so geared towards the offense, it almost feels
Exactly.
feels like sometimes like what's the defense going to do? If the offense is clicking, you almost can't stop them. You know.
Exactly. It's very true. Very true.
Yeah. All right. So before you go, right, I'm looking at the NFC. And I'm not really seeing anybody that's going to throw a knockout punch. It looks like the 49ers. I don't know. I'm trying to think of who is better than them right now. It looks like you guys are in good shape, Chops.
I think we're in great shape. I think if the 49ers, that guy just operates the quarterback, what's his name, Purdy?
Yeah, Purdy. Yeah.
He's operating that team like a pro should, quarterback should, like Montana. He's got a lot of athletic skills, man. That I saw that in the beginning when they put him in the early season, the preseason. I said, man, this guy got something. I didn't know what it was, but now I see it. He's gonna take him to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl with his skills.
And this guy was picked last in the draft.
Irrelevant.
It doesn't matter, man. If you got talent, you got talent.
I guess so. All right. Well, we have a deal. If the 49ers win the Super Bowl, when we do our Paul Santos live comedy variety show, I have to actually do the show in a 49ers gear. So that's a tough one, man. I'm gonna have to,
you better have to get a Brock Purdy jersey.
Chops is gonna be laughing hysterically the whole time.
I'll be laughing all day long, man, Paul. You are the man, Paul.
All right, Chops. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for calling, you guys.
Thank you. Yeah, bye bye.
Take care.
All right, Chops' turn to the our 49ers expert, and looking at the NFC, right? I don't see really any teams emerging. Teams that we thought were going to be good are not that good. The defending champions are not good. Green Bay's not that good. I got to tell you, you guys over there in the Dallas Cowboys, right? I'm thinking to myself, all right, let's see what's going to happen in the playoffs now. All right, who do you get? You get a team that's struggling, but they have a quarterback by the name of Tom Brady, right?
Dallas Patrick Brady Jr.
Yeah. So Dallas, the Dallas Cowboys are going to end up playing Tampa Bay, correct? So, I mean, Dak and Tom. I mean, I know Tampa Bay struggled all year, but I got to tell you, if I'm Jerry Jones sitting up in that box, man, the last thing I want to see is Tom Brady coming the other way after everything they've been through.
I wouldn't want to see him either. And if it wasn't for the fact that Tom and Mike Evans managed to get that connection going again, the guy went off for 207 yards and 3 touchdowns, just ran by absolutely everyone. Now, I think that this week, Tampa, even though they're going up against a crappy Falcons team, I think it's going to be a good test to see if that connection can become consistent again, because it was just all year. After that one touchdown that he scored against Dallas, and just so happens in the first game, like they haven't been able to get that going. In the first Carolina game, as easy a touchdown as you can get, and freaking Mike Evans kind of just patty caked it, just sent it all the way across the field. So that's one of 2 things I'm looking for when it comes to Tampa. Can he, get that connection with Mike Evans consistent, and can he get a consistent rapport with that rookie tight end Kate Otten, who's had some flashes, but particularly in that Carolina game, they've haven't been on the same page. So I think it's the tight end and Mike Evans.
All right, we still got a few minutes here. If you want to jump in the conversation at 774-762-6234. Paul and Ryan in for Chris here on Santos on Sports. And, the other thing, too, I'm looking at the NFC. How about Philadelphia? I mean, they're not as good right now as they were at the beginning, right? So I'm starting to look at them. I'm like, I don't know. Are they frauds? I mean, is that too strong a comment?
I don't necessarily think that they're frauds. I think it's just, if they had a backup QB that was similar to Jalen Hurts, because here's the thing, Gardner Minshew has proven at times to be a good thrower, but he's not half of the runner that Jalen Hurts was. And to me, like, Jalen Hurts might be the NFC version of Lamar Jackson. Look at Baltimore and how much that offense is taking a hit when he gets injured. Like, he's really like the main cog in that offense. So I think, to me, the Eagles' chances of getting to the NFC Championship game, he sprained his throwing shoulder. Is that going to be healthy come playoff time? I think that's going to be the key for them contending with San Francisco.
All right, Mark Devers, not Mark Devers, Mark Sylvia looking in from Chicago. It looks like the Devers signed. I know he did that 1 year deal, but it looks like Philip McDonald is saying 11 years. So did you hear that Devers extended? If somebody knows that, let us know. The Devers, I know he signed a 1 year deal with the
The
Red Sox, but
arbitration, yeah.
did they go out and sign him for 11 years? Is that what somebody's saying over here? Let's clear that up if we could here. And
Oh,
Mark Sylvia also agrees that never ever count out TB12.
I
So
mean, as much as I like to agree with that, I just feel like there hasn't been enough consistency there. And like I'm not just like a Patriots guy. I've ever since he left, I still wanted him and Gronkowski to do well in Tampa. So I still actively root for both. But it's just they've just aside from this game, he's just been off the whole year. And I hope I'm wrong. I would love to see him go on a run, but I just don't see it. I don't see it.
all right, let me see. I just very quickly did a little research here. Red Sox, Rafael Devers in agreement on an 11-year, $331 million extension. Oh my,
Whoa!
whoa, wow. I guess they think a little bit more of Devers than they did of Bogarts. I think Devers is more of a
Yeah,
power guy and everything else. But wow, these contracts are really getting crazy, aren't they? I mean, they're always crazy, but they seem like they're
yeah.
getting crazier all the time. These are sources that are reporting this, ESPN and some of these other.
Did Jeff Passan get that story?
Yeah, I was just looking at that. I was just looking at it. It looks like ESPN and let me see, MajorLeagueBaseball.com. So it does look like they're on their way if it hasn't happened already. So my response to that is, holy smokes, I mean, it seems like, you always pay more later, right? The same thing
Right,
with Pasternak, right? If they had gone to Pasternak 2 years ago and said, hey, we'll give you this and that, it would have been cheaper then. Once you wait
right.
till the last couple of years, you've already blown it. You know what I mean? I mean, hey, I'm glad that he's there. He's a great player. He's an exciting player. I mean, once you get to 11 years, that's the problem with these contracts now because 11 years, like how good's it going to be 5 years from now, 6 years from now? You don't know that.
Right. Well, first of all, I just want to say, like, kudos to John Henry and Chaim Bloom for actually committing to a young central piece on the team. I'm stunned. After the Bogart situation and also the arbitration thing, just that we saw today, I thought it was inevitable that he was going to get traded to like the Mets or something. So kudos to him for bringing him back. I will say this: I'm more okay with them signing Rafi Devers to an 11-year deal than again, as much as I wanted Bogarts back, I wouldn't have done it for 11 years. I think you have a bit more wiggle room here with Devers because he's a much younger guy. If you had given Bogarts that 11-year deal that San Diego gave him, we've been playing into his 40s. So I think there's a lot more years of his prime left with Devers than you would have gotten with Bogarts. As much as I wanted Bogarts back.
Yeah, Devers is 26, right? And I think Bogarts might have been 30 or 31.
Yeah,
And the thing is, Devers is more of a power hitter too, which I think is
right.
important. And, it says here too that this is the longest and largest guarantee ever given by the Red Sox in their franchise history. Well, that makes sense because I don't
Wow.
see who else would they, I mean, think back, like who else got $331 million? Nobody, right?
And again, I'm stunned that this much money is coming from Chaim Bloom.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
ever since he came, like if it was Dave Dombrowski who had given him that contract, I wouldn't have been shocked at all because he was just like push all the chips towards the middle of the table, screw the freaking the farm system. But I'm stunned. I'm taken aback by this. I'm happy, but I am taken aback. My God.
Yeah, that is amazing. All right, before we let you go, we got a few minutes left here. I'm watching the Celtics last night. I'm thinking, all right, let me put the game on. This should be a pretty good game. All of a sudden, I look, they gave up 150 points. This is supposed to be like one of the best defenses in the league. How in the world do you explain that one?
To the Thunder, no less.
Yeah, to the Thunder, yeah. And then
Who
Marcus Smart, he has to be
oh my
restrained
God, this
because
toolbox.
these guys, man, until they understand that you got to be in control in good moments and bad moments. I mean, I just hate that when you see that. I find that to be so like I don't know, just like come on, get a grip on yourself here, pal.
Yeah, and as much as I want to give Joe Mazzulla credit for what he's done for the team, given the circumstances, the whole the scandal before the season and all that, I'll give them credit for helping them get to the number one seed. But I've been saying from the get go, this defense isn't as good as it was. And you could point to Time Lord being injured and what have you. But even with him out, these guys aren't playing as hard on defense as they were this past year, and that's gone to show against some of these these meddling teams like Indiana, like OKC now. And sure, OKC is an up and coming team with like some good young players, but they shouldn't be upsetting the number one seed by that much of a margin.
All right. Well, we'd like to take the opportunity to thank our sponsors if we could. And they are John Seed, Attorney at Law, 156 8th Street in New Bedford. You can go to his website at johnseedlaw.com. Lakeville Athletic Club, 325 Bedford Street in Lakeville, where you can play tennis, pickleball, and more. Citywide Glass, where 3 locations to serve you in Dartmouth, Fall River, and Taunton. And Scotty's Pub, located at 202 Pleasant Street in the city of Fall River. We'd like to take the opportunity to thank Ryan Farias for pinch hitting for Chris Santos today. Ryan, you did an outstanding job.
Thank you. I've certainly had some big shoes to fill because Chris is just awesome. I hope I did a representatively good job.
Yes, you certainly did. You did an outstanding job, and really appreciate you pinch hitting with Chris having the flu. And of course, we hope he gets better soon, because I think he said it was one of those stomach flus. Boy, I hate those.
Get well soon, buddy. Get better soon.
So thank you very much, and I'm sure I hope we'll hear from you again by being our number one caller.
As always, thank you.
All right, thank you very much to Ryan Farias. For Ryan, I am Paul Santos for Santos on Sports. We'll talk to you